everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to beautiful Halloween. It's that time of year again, and in this tutorial I'm showing you how to create this werewolf look inspired by the movie An American Werewolf in London. I hope you enjoy it. Now let's get into the tutorial. I'm starting out this look by using my Temp 2 airbrush system and gray airbrush paint to darken up these fox ears that I'm going to be wearing as werewolf ears. And this werewolf look is going to be a gray color, so I don't want any brown tones or light colors on the ears. And the airbrush just does the trick. For the base, I'm starting with a face oil just to hydrate the skin deeply, and I'm rubbing that in really well. And next I'm going to be applying some primer before we add foundation later. To create a new brow shape, I'm using a washable glue stick to block out only the ends of my brows. The front of my brow I want to use as a guide, so we're going to leave that be. Blocking out the brows is pretty tricky, so if you have super straight brows naturally, it'll save you some time if you just use your own shape and fill in. I start by applying a few layers of glue, maybe 5 to 7 layers, until the brow hairs lay flat and smooth, and I'm using a blow dryer on the cool setting just to set them. And you can use a makeup wipe just to clean up any excess glue that is on your skin. I'm using a loose powder to fill in any crevices so the brows are as smooth as possible. I first add a full coverage concealer over top of the brow, then I add in a touch of an orange corrector, which really helps if you have dark brow hairs like mine, but only add where you see darkness. Then I go over that with another layer of concealer, so it's like a concealer corrector sandwich. Concealer, corrector, then concealer again. I'm applying a full coverage foundation with a flat foundation brush because I still want the look very glam with lots of coverage on the skin. To build more coverage over the brows, I'm applying another layer of powder using a powder puff. Here I'm adding some concealer to even out the skin tone and conceal any darkness under the eyes, and I'm just going to go ahead and lock that in with powder. Moving on to the brows, I'm using a brow pomade to create thick werewolf brows by drawing on hairs. I use the pomade to create the pointy shape for a fierce kind of mad look, and then I use a brown liquid liner for the longer hair strokes. If your shape is not perfect, just pick up some concealer and clean up a bit. Prime your eyes for eyeshadow, and then jumping right into the eye look, I'm picking up a cool toned brown shadow and I'm blending that into my crease. And I'm using a blending brush just to pull the shape outwards and up to lift the eyes. Picking up a black shadow, I'm deepening the outer corner and adding a lot more darkness, blending into that wing shape. Here I'm using a clean blending brush to fade those shades into each other a little bit better, and I'm taking the excess on my brush just to contour down the sides of my nose. With a matte white eyeshadow, I'm packing color onto the brow bone and then lightly blending that out. This just helps everything blend together a little bit better. I'm adding this beautiful metallic blue shadow, or should I say, boo-hoo-hoo-tiful. Get it? I'm adding this on the center of the lid for a pop of color because why not? This werewolf ain't basic and she likes a little color in her life, so let's give it to her. I felt like blue would look really nice with all the grays and blacks. With a silver metallic eyeshadow, I'm highlighting the inner corner and a little bit on the lid. Taking a black eyeliner on the waterline, I'm going to really smoke out the eye look, and I'm using a blue matte eyeshadow mixed with a touch of black shadow to get that smoky lower lash line. And I'm just using a small blending brush to blend all of that out. Using a black liquid eyeliner, I'm going to create a double wing on the inner corner, and this really adds to the wolf eyes and makes them look much more longer and bigger, like animal eyes. Time for some mascara and pop on some false lashes. Moving on to contour, I'm using a cool toned cream shade to sculpt my cheeks, and I'm blending from the front of my ear all the way to the corner of my mouth and jawline. I'm also going to shape out my nose and create a protruding forehead shape by contouring the front of the brows upwards. And you can see me move the brush in a circular motion, and that really brings the forehead forward. Now we're getting into the hair you see on a werewolf, which is usually along the cheeks and forehead. So I'm just layering a darker shade of brown cream contour until you start seeing the werewolf look come together. Here I'm adding in some gray eyeshadow over the top of that contour, just using a powder brush, and this will darken everything up. Because I have a super small forehead, I like to use concealer to clean up the shape before I go a little bit overboard. To add more darkness, I'm using a black eyeshadow to deepen up the hairy areas, so the forehead and along the cheeks. This werewolf loves to glow, so I'm using one of my favorite fantasy highlights on the high points of the face, and this gives a really silvery, icy, wet look. Moving on to the body, I'm using a gray airbrush paint to match my face up with my body, and I'm going for a patchy texture here, so I'm using this on a high pressure to create that. You can also use black eyeshadow and a big fluffy brush for a similar look if you aren't working with an airbrush machine. Using a black airbrush paint, I'm going to contour the collarbones and the shoulders, just for a little bit of depth and dimension. On the high points of the body, I'm applying that silvery highlight that I applied on my cheeks earlier for a gorgeous fantasy look on the body. And topping off the body with silver glitter that you will also see later on my hands. For the lips, I'm using a black liquid lipstick to line out my lips, and then I'm applying a gray liquid lipstick on the very center of my lip for an ombre look, and I'm just going to use a blending brush to blend those two colors into each other. Time to pop on the teeth. Little tip, if you all want to wear vampire teeth or werewolf teeth for this look, definitely use Polygrip. This is denture glue and it holds much better than the mix and powders that usually come with these Halloween teeth. It feels a little weird at first when you apply it, which is why you might make this face like how I am right now. Just make sure before you apply these teeth, you are drying off your tooth completely because it will really help it stick. Here I'm painting my hands with a black and white body paint, and I'm using a fluffy brush to stripe the hands to create almost the look of messy, hairy werewolf hands. Just go ahead and top the hands off with glitter because, well, who would I be if I didn't do this? And I expect nothing less from any of you. Lastly, I'm adding some iridescent glitter to the center of my lids. And this is the final werewolf look. If you loved it, be sure you like this video and subscribe for more tutorials because there will be plenty more, and show it some love by leaving me a comment down below. Thank you so much for tuning in to Beautiful Halloween, and I'll see you in my next video.